Metaglasses are back, and people seem really excited about this. I think in the same way they were excited about the original, the Ray-Ban Wayfarer ones. I own a pair of those, and they're awesome, right? They're sort of glitchy, short battery life. I don't find them overly practical right now, but as an early version of this, it's actually pretty cool. And Jaeden, you and I have talked a lot offline about this, about hardware and how hard hardware is to get right. But boy, oh boy, if sunglasses aren't the best use case, I don't know what is. But Jaden's been talking a ton about this on his other podcasts, on LinkedIn. Jaeden can't wait to talk about Zuck. He loves Zuck. He wants to talk about the sunglasses. Jaeden, where are you taking this?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I have gone from like not a huge fan of Zuck to now I'm like Zuck's #1 fan. I don't know why. His like nerdy rebrand of a tech bro, I just love it. It just like warms my heart to unlimited levels. Okay, so the thing that I think is amazing here is basically they came out and they did this big announcement and it was sort of a flop. Well, Zuckerberg was showing off the Meta glasses on stage. The call wasn't picking up. He was having a bunch of glitches, and people on X were just completely roasting him. What I think is interesting is I was at Google I/O earlier this year, and they also have some sort of like glasses product that they came out with. And when they were doing the demo there, it also glitched out at the end of the demo and stopped working, and they just kind of like moved on with it. The point being, and I think it's interesting because I've seen a couple posts on Twitter that I agree with this. A lot of people just like roasting, like, oh my gosh, can't believe Zuck like completely failed. I would way rather see a demo that fails than a polished, Apple demo, basically, where they're showing off a product that they have like filmed it in advance, a month in advance, doing exactly what they want. They edited the video and it's guaranteed to work. I actually really like I like this vibe. It reminds me of when Steve Jobs, he did a demo of the iPhone when it first came out, and it wasn't working because I guess there's too many people on the internet at their place. And so he literally told everyone in the stadium, if you guys want to see this demo, you all have to turn off your Wi-Fi on your devices, put your device on the ground, and then I'll show it to you.
No way.
So it was kind of funny. He forced everyone to do that, and they all agreed, and they turned their Wi-Fi off, and then he was able to do the demo. Yeah, if you haven't seen that, it's a hilarious clip. But anyways, I love that. I feel like we're getting back to that. Zuck did a demo where on the glasses, someone called, and these glasses come with this new wristband. So I think this is kind of an interesting thing. They're beyond, Meta already has their Ray-Bans, which basically had like a Gemini built in. You could tap it and you could talk and it could talk to you. But now we're actually getting built into the lenses. You're actually able to see things. So when you're looking through them, if someone calls you, there's going to be a little bubble that pops up with a call. And in order to interact with that screen, basically, that's now going to be built into your glasses, you have this wristband. I think it's called a neural band or something. You are just moving your fingers. So sort of like how Apple's VR headset is, where you like pinch your fingers together to click on things. You're doing the same thing, but you're wearing a wristband to I guess help you. And it senses like pulses from your hand. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And to determine that you're like clicking or scrolling or moving around. So I think the technology is amazing, and it definitely got overshadowed by the fact that the demo wasn't like he wasn't able to click on it during the demo for maybe the internet or some other glitchy reason. But I love this, so I'm not sure your take on it though.
No, 100%. And it's, can we just vent for 1 second about like the demo culture on Twitter? There's still things that came out like last year that I can't replicate just because the demo looked so perfect. It's not about whether the technology is glitchy or not. It's just like people like really make these things perfect before they upload them, and that's why they go viral. Jaeden, I'm so with you. I'd much rather see this thing crash and be like, hey, okay, it crashed, but at least they're doing something real. I know that sounds strange. Now, unfortunately, that's not most of the universe. But the thing that I was most excited about this by far, I think, is the neural band. I remember writing about the neural band, I don't know, maybe a few months ago. I don't think we did a podcast on it, but the idea is that, for me anyway, any sort of wearable device has to imitate a little bit about how people use their devices now. In other words, the reason why voice is both awesome and not great is voice is great when you're by yourself. Voice is not great if you're on like a crowded bus and you want to talk into your thing, because that's not how people do it. It's why they don't make phone calls anymore, right? That's why everybody's texting all the time, because it's easier, it's quiet, nobody knows what you're doing, all that sort of stuff. And so the idea that you would want to have a pair of glasses that then you can talk to is not realistic. That's not how people operate anymore. But the neural band is incredible. Like if you can sort of like just make hand motions, which in a way mirror the same way that, teenagers and everybody else do things on their phone with swiping and texting and everything else. That to me feels like an unbelievable breakthrough. So I was just like checking to make sure, Jaeden, just as we were on this podcast right now, because I'm like, do I have this right? And it says that both are, the display glasses and the neural band are officially launching and will be available to buy in the US starting September 30th. It's included in the $799 package with glasses. In-person demos and pre-orders are available at select physical retailers. But that to me is amazing because when the first neural band story came out, which I don't know, it's probably like 4 or 5 months ago, it really made it sound like this is not close. Do you know what I mean? Like this is just like very prototyping, all that kind of stuff. So the fact that they have it ready, I mean, again, we can kind of crush Meta for a lot of things, but if Meta can get the device stuff right, and if people just sort of start to call them Meta glasses, right, in the same way that we call it, ChatGPT or Google or something like that when we're talking about search engines and large language models, that could be huge. I think that they could own this market. I know Google is coming out with their own product on this and everything like that. But first of all, style is so much. And then the real things that people would want in this are just so cool. Like the, subtitles, somebody's talking and it's instantly translating subtitles on your, in your field of view and all that kind of stuff. When you think about just the features themselves, what goes beyond like, oh, that's just really cool? Because again, like, let's be honest, like subtitles are great, but how often are you actually talking to somebody in a different language? It's not all that often. But Jaeden, when you were looking at this and kind of doing a deeper dive, what are the features in here where you're like, oh, actually, that's something that people would actually use on an everyday basis rather than it's just like a sort of a cool thing to show off for the technology?
So the first thing that I think is really interesting that Zuckerberg said, and I know some people will disagree with this, but I think it is accurate in how it will work, is basically this is his quote. He said, "The promise of glasses is to preserve the sense of presence that you have with other people."
Mm-hmm.
I think we've lost it a bit with phones, and we have the opportunity to get it back with glasses. This is interesting because how many times have you been talking to someone, their phone bings, they pull it up, they look at their text message, they read it for a second. You have to pause talking to them. They go back and talk to you. I know, I'm sure people will be mad by that example, or it's disrespectful or like whatever. But like this happens. This is reality, especially with people that you're talking to, like a family or a friend or something. And so basically you lose that kind of sense of presence a lot of times with people. And so what's interesting is in the case of glasses, if someone texts you and it pops up on your glasses, you see it out of the corner of your eye, you understand the situation that's going on, you keep talking to someone, you feel like you still have that sense of presence. Now, I'm sure some people won't like maybe that someone could be reading a message while talking to. It's hard to know if they're fully present or not, but I think you definitely will get a sense of presence, whether their mind is literally present or not. One of the features that I do think is really interesting is how this neural band actually works and what it can be used for. So in the case of writing text messages, you can actually write a text message to somebody. And I think this is so fascinating because if you just have glasses without voice to text, how would you actually get a message across? So basically the band that you wear on your wrist, it has this thing called SEMG. So it uses surface electromyography. Hope I pronounced that correctly. But it's basically picking up signals sent between your brain and your hand when you're performing gestures to do this. It is so fascinating. So one of the things that you can do when you're writing is you can use your hand and you kind of grip your hand like a pencil or a pen, and you write out the letters of like what you're writing, and it will be able to use those to text the message back, to like type out your text messages. So if you're wearing this wristband and you have your wrist, you could imagine people are in class or something and your hand is under the table. You can just kind of be like writing out your messages. What's interesting, Zuck said he's like, I'm up to about 30 words a minute with this, which I just thought was so funny.
Fast. Also, just Zuckerberg sort of like sitting there. I mean, but Jaeden, this is like, by the way, is there anybody in the crowd right now that's not trying to do this with? Because I'm like literally just sort of seeing like what would that look like with a pen? But you're right. Like, first of all, on the presence thing, it's really interesting. By the way, this is what the Humane AI pen was all about, which is trying to get people off their phones. I think that we are trending toward that. I know in my kids' school, for example, like phones are now essentially banned for the day, which is a big movement in schools, which I think is like really huge. But this is where we're trying to get people more human out of technology. I don't think Zuck's right that I think you said it right, Jaeden, which is it might feel like you're more present, but oh my gosh, if my kid is wearing sunglasses and talking to me, like that's it. Do you know what I mean? Like like what are you gonna do? Like they're gone. But like this thing with the neural band and just like doing that. Now I sort of like think about like, okay, could I talk to Jaeden? And I'm just trying it right now. Like, hey, I'm going to say this thing to Jaeden, and can I write a message to my kid? No, there's no way. Like, I can't use both sides of my brain to do that. But if you're in like, as you say, like a movie theater or something like that, like, I don't know. I kind of love it. I'm just like really wondering how it's going to work in practice and look in practice,
Yeah, I think it will get a lot of criticism for some use cases and some reasons like we've discussed, but I do think there's a lot of times when this could be very useful in a movie theater. I mean, I'm sure people are like, just enjoy the movie, but like maybe there's a very important thing that you need to respond to, and you don't want to
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah.
bother everyone by pulling your phone out and shining the light. So I think there's some genuinely legitimate, interesting use cases here that I'm excited about. So yeah, excited to see how Meta continues to innovate on this. Happy they decided to do the demo, even though it sort of crashed. And yeah, kudos to Zuckerberg. I will give him his flowers on this one. Crashing and burning on stage, I think is impressive. It means he was super excited about the tech and excited enough to let that happen. So I'm excited. I'm happy about that. I think that's pretty cool. And we will definitely let you know when Connor replaces his glasses with the Meta Ray-Bans. He will give
Right.
us a full tutorial when these things come out.
Yeah, can't wait.
Thank
I mean,
you.
and that's the other thing, by the way, Jaden. Like, this is coming to glasses, not just sunglasses, which is going to be the real. That's going to be the real mover in the market, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So the last thing I want to bring up though is if you want to make sure that you're staying on the cutting edge with everything happening in AI, you might not have to buy these Meta Ray Bans, but what I would definitely recommend you do is go check out Connor's AI mindset course. He has a course that companies basically pay for all of their employees to take this, some because they see how valuable this is. There's a certain company that I think bought like 10,000 like seats to this, over 10,000 seats for everyone in the organization because they saw just how valuable his course is. So go check that out. There's a link in the description that helps give you frameworks for how to use and apply AI into your work and your job and actually make a difference in there. So it's a really powerful course. I'd recommend go checking it out. Links in the description. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode.